Good day. Welcome to another session of Fog Accountancy Tutorials. Today we are going to look at stock levels, or what we call inventory levels. We are going to understand how to fix these levels in our organizations, and then we are going to use that to ensure proper inventory management so that we don't run out of stock, and also to ensure that customer demands are also met. All right, so this is under accounting for materials or inventories. And then over here, I'm going to look at these levels of stock, and I'm going to explain them to you. We are going to look at the reorder level for inventory. We are going to look at the minimum stock level or inventory levels, and then also we have to look at the maximum stock level. At least these are the major three that we are going to look at. We also look at an average stock level or inventory level, and then we can look at the reorder quantity, which could also push us to look at economic order quantity. Okay, so like I said, before we understand fixing these levels very well, we are going to look at the formulas and how to calculate for these. But what we have to first understand is the main three that are written. Okay, the first three, the reorder level and the minimum stock level. What we are trying to say is that as part of inventory management or stock management in every organization, we try as much as possible to make sure that our stocks are always in the right quantity, that inventory do not go beyond a certain level, and that inventory do not fall below a certain level, and that inventory should be ordered at a particular time, and that we expect inventories to arrive. In other words, the dynamics of inventory should really be managed very well, because that is the backbone. In fact, that is even why we are in business. We are in business to satisfy customer needs with our inventory, and that is why we need to do proper inventory management. Let me try and explain these three to you very well for easy understanding. What do we mean by the reorder level and the minimum stock level and the maximum stock level? I'm going to use a barrel to explain that to you. So let's take this as a barrel that contains water. Now, some of us, we grew up in villages, okay, and we use this kind of barrels a lot. Now, many of you may not have seen it before, but I'm telling you, it's a barrel that we usually use to hold water or store water for usage in the house when we were in the village. Now, we were very young and we had very short hands and we were very short. And so if you want to draw water from this barrel with a cup, now, even if your height will permit you to dip the cup into the barrel, you realize that your hands may not reach the bottom of the barrel because you are very small. What I'm trying to explain is that we have the reorder level, the minimum stock level, the maximum stock level. There is also an average stock, a reorder quantity, and an economic order quantity. Economic. All right. Now, I'm trying to use the barrel to explain to you. Now, this is a barrel that will hold water, okay? In my village, what my grandmother used to do is that she usually marked a part of the barrel like this. We used to go to the stream to fetch water into the barrel. And so what she would normally do is that she will mark this place, a place like this, and then instruct us that we should make sure that the water never goes beyond this barrel, the where she has marked, okay? Because if we overfill it, or if you fill it beyond that level, what is going to happen is that we can easily put our hands into it, play with it, and all that. And so she always marks that side. That should be the maximum level where the water should not be allowed to go beyond. And then she will usually mark somewhere down. Now, the reason for marking this place is to tell us that we shouldn't let the water go below that level. One of the reasons is what I explained. Me, for example, I have a short hand. And so if I want to dip a cup or a bowl into the barrel and fetch, my hand may not go beyond that point. And so that should be the minimum point. All right. Now, the wisdom in this is that she told us that we shouldn't wait for the water to reach the minimum point, because from our house where we were staying to the stream where we used to fetch the water was very far. And so by the time we see that it has gone to the minimum level, by the time we go and then bring back the water, the distance between our house and the stream, the time we would have spent would have caused that by the time we come back, they would have used the water below that level. And that will put us in trouble. And so she marked somewhere here as well. Okay. And then, so this is the maximum point. This is the minimum point. But she marked somewhere here. Where I have marked is not the middle for you to call it average. She marked a point where that the moment we see that the water has reached that level, then we should start walking to the stream. So that by the time we go and then bring in more water, it would have probably fallen down to the minimum and then we top up again. In other words, under no circumstance should water be allowed to fall below the minimum. And so this level is a reorder level. In other words, that is the level that allows you to go in and bring in new water or new stock. And so I'm trying to liken this barrel and water situation to our inventory levels. And what I'm trying to explain is that the reorder level of inventory is the level of inventory at which new orders must be placed for stock to be brought in. That is the reorder level. The minimum stock level is the level of inventory where the stocks are not allowed to fall below. In other words, we shouldn't allow stocks to fall below that level. And then the maximum stock level is the maximum level of inventory. Or in other words, it is the level of inventory at which stocks should not be allowed to go beyond. There are so many reasons for setting these levels, and there are so many factors to consider in setting these levels. One of the reasons for setting the maximum stock level is that we want to avoid wastage of materials and then all those kind of risk associated with holding too much stock. There are so many theoretical aspects of accounting for materials, which I want you to read a lot about that. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that if you allow stocks to go beyond the maximum, there will be wastage. You know your demand, annual demand. You know how many stocks you will need. Why would you take the excess and store them? Some will go bad. There could be pilferage or stealing from your employees. There could be expiry. Some could expire. Okay, and there are so many risks that are associated with holding too much stock, and that is why we need to fix the maximum stock level. And then we also need to fix the minimum stock level. One of the reasons is that we will not run out of stocks when customers are in demand and then we are out of stock. It means that they are likely to go to our competitors, and when they go to our competitors, they may be satisfied, and then before you realize, we are losing customers to competitors. And there are so many other reasons which I want you to read on as to why we set the minimum stock level. As for the reorder level, it is an alarming level, a level that will give you the signal to order for new stock. Some stocks delay in the order, and then the period of time that it takes from the time you order the stock to the time that you receive the stock is called the reorder period. It is also called the lead time, and it differs from organization to organization, and depending on the kind of supplier and the distance between you and the supplier and other factors that may be organization specific. And so what I'm trying to explain is that the reorder level is an alarming level, and it may be different from company to company. Even though I have marked here, it is not the average stock level. The average stock level is simply the maximum stock level plus the minimum stock level divided by 2. Okay, we are trying to find an average stock level. And then we'll also talk about the reorder quantity. But for now, I want us to focus on the first 4. Very, very important. So that after explaining, I will take my time and come back to the reorder quantity and then talk about the economic order quantity as well. The reorder quantity actually is the quantity that you order at the reorder level. So we let's say that any time that our stocks fall to the reorder level, we go in for 100 quantities or 100 pieces of the stock. And so every time it gets to the reorder level, based on our annual demand, we go in for a number of stocks. So if we are going in for 100 units of the stock at the reorder level, then that 100 units becomes the reorder quantity. That is the quantity that we order at the reorder level. And then economic order quantity. The economic order quantity is also a reorder quantity. In other words, we use the word economic to denote the fact that it is the quantity to be ordered at the reorder level which reduces cost for the organization. That is where the organization will incur the lowest cost, because in ordering of stocks, there are 2 key costs involved. We have the cost of ordering itself, and we have the holding or the storage cost. Okay, so if you order too much stock, you need more holding cost. And then there are also the number of times you order in a year will also increase your ordering cost, because per order, every order you incur some cost. And so what is the balance between a situation where your holding cost and then your ordering cost will come to the barest minimum, so that we say that maybe at 120 units or at 100 units or at 50 units, this is the lowest cost we will incur. So in other words, the reorder quantity that will produce, because there could be so many different reorder quantities. In other words, if at this reorder level we order 100 units, the next reorder level we order 150 units, another reorder level we order 120 units. So there could be so many reorder quantities, but among all the reorder quantities, which one gave us the least cost? That is what we call the economic order quantity. So the economic order quantity is also the reorder quantity, but it is the reorder quantity that produces the least cost for the organization in terms of cost of ordering and cost of holding. And that is why we call it the economic order quantity. And so I'm going to give you formulas how to calculate this. The reason why I'm not going too much into the theory is because we are going to delve into calculations. We are going to look at the formulas for calculating all these things, and afterwards we are going to take a question and then try and then solve them together. That is for inventory levels. All right, so let us look at the formulas. Now, we are beginning with the reorder level. The reorder level. We said that it is the level that gives us the alarm to order for new stock. And so over here, we are going to consider our maximum consumption within the year, or our maximum usage. Now, in this case, we are going to use usage and consumption interchangeably. So usage means consumption. And then I also made mention of reorder period as the period of time between when the order is made and when the actual goods are received. That period that it takes from the order of the inventory to the receipt of the inventory is called the reorder period. Now, that reorder period can also be called lead time. So if you see lead time in inventory valuation or in inventory levels, under inventory levels, you know that lead time means reorder period. Consumption means usage. So you should be careful about that. Now, over here, we are going to consider our maximum consumption within the year times our maximum lead time. The lead time I've told you is the reorder period. So when you see lead time, it is reorder period. So the reorder level is set by multiplying your maximum consumption within the year by your maximum reorder period. You know, there are some, when you order for inventory, we can say that, okay, this order may take 10 to 15 days before you receive the goods. So if you are saying 10 to 15 days, then the 10 days is your minimum lead time or your reorder period. And then your maximum is 15 days. So that is what we are trying to say, that if you want to set the reorder levels and we look for the minimums, we are going to be at risk, because what if it extends to the maximum? Then we may risk going below the minimum stock level. And so we try to use the maximums. It's like the prudence concept, where we anticipate losses. We anticipate that, okay, when we order, it will take so much time. It will take so long. So we take the maximum. And with our consumption too, you know that we set the reorder level at a level where, because remember from the barrel that I gave you, I set the reorder level above the minimum stock level. Okay, above the minimum stock level, this is the reorder level and this is the minimum. And what I'm trying to explain is that the reason why we are placing order here, it doesn't mean that after placing order we stop consuming. No, after placing order we continue to consume, so that by the time it arrives, we anticipate that the stock shouldn't fall below the minimum. And so we don't use our minimum consumption in setting the reorder level. We consider the maximum, so that even if we consume that much and we are waiting, by the time it arrives, we will still haven't gone below the minimum stock level. And that is why the formula for reorder level is your maximum consumption multiplied by your maximum lead time. Or you can say maximum usage times maximum reorder period. That is the meaning of the formula. So this is the first formula, the reorder level, which is your maximum consumption times your maximum lead time. We're actually going to solve a question after I give you the formulas. Okay. Now, the next formula that we have to pay attention to is the minimum stock level. The minimum stock level. The minimum stock level, this is the minimum stock level. We all know that the minimum stock level is set below the reorder level. And so the minimum stock level is giving us your reorder level minus average consumption times your average lead time. And in this case, lead time means reorder period. So we are trying to open up a bracket here and say, let's multiply the average consumption over the average lead time. So like I told you, if your lead time or your reorder period is 10 to 15 days, your average will be 10 plus 15 divided by 2. That is the meaning. So that will be 12.5. And then your average consumption, if your maximum consumption is 10,000 units and your minimum consumption is 7,000, you add the two and find the difference. That will be 8,005. So you multiply the two averages and then you subtract that from the reorder level, and that is going to set for you the minimum stock level. And so we have moved from maximum multiplying maximum to average multiplying average, but now we are taking that out of the reorder level. So this is the risk aspect. Now you'll be given a question and you'll be required to calculate all of these levels. Now what we are trying to say is that looking at the second formula, it means that if you get the calculation of the reorder level wrong, you're going to get the calculation of the minimum stock level wrong as well, because the answer from the first one is what you are going to input into the second formula to solve for your minimum stock level. And that means that if you get your minimum stock your reorder level calculation to be wrong, then you are going to also get a computation of the minimum stock level to be wrong as well. So that is the formula for the minimum stock level. And then we move on to the maximum stock level. Now, the maximum stock level is also dependent on the reorder level. But look at how it goes. Maximum stock level is also giving us your reorder level. This time plus your reorder quantity. Minus your minimum. So now we are the minimums. Minimum consumption or usage times your minimum lead time. So we have reorder level this time plus the reorder quantity minus the minimums. We are trying to set the maximum, and by doing so we factor the minimums, just like we factored the maximums here and then the averages here. So look at how it moves: maximum, average, minimum. It descends in that order. The multiplication is always constant. It just depends on what you are looking for. Reorder level is maximum, maximum. Minimum stock level is average, average, and then the maximum stock level is minimum, minimum. And all of that we are subtracting. But over here we need to add the reorder quantity. One other way you could have seen it is that they will tell you it is the reorder level minus the minimum usage or consumption times the minimum reorder period or lead time. Then afterwards they will say plus the reorder quantity. It's the same thing. It's just that this has been moved to the end. I'm just using abbreviations for you in this case. So that is the formula for the maximum stock level. Okay. Now, one other important thing I want you to also note is that this average that you see here, in most questions, average actually means normal. So instead of saying average consumption, they will say normal consumption or normal lead time. So the minimum stock level is the reorder level minus your normal consumption times your normal reorder period or lead time. Take note that lead time means reorder period, average means normal, and then yes, average means normal, and then consumption also means usage. You should be very careful about that. so that when you see them being used interchangeably, you are not going to get confused. So these are the key formulas that we need to master. And then we move on to the average stock level. The average stock level is very simple. Okay, your average stock level can be given as your maximum stock level plus your minimum stock level, all divided by 2. So this is one easy way to go by that. Your maximum stock level plus the minimum, you add the 2, you divide by 2, you have an average. The average stock level is actually not so important for decision making purposes. These 3 are very key, and then the economic order quantity as well. So this is how to go by your average stock level, maxi plus mini divided by 2. Now, another way you can calculate your average stock level, there is an alternative formula for the average stock level, and that is going to be your half reorder quantity. So half times the reorder quantity plus the minimum stock level. So that is your average stock level. It's also just estimated. You multiply the reorder quantity by, you divide the reorder quantity by 2, and then you add that to the minimum stock level. That is another way you can go by the average stock level. That is if you don't get some of this information and then you have that, you can also go by that. Mind you that if you use this formula or that, you are not going to get the same answer. You are just estimates, okay? This will give you a different answer probably from this. It doesn't mean you are wrong. It depends on the formula that you use, because some of these are just management decision making techniques and we just use them for decision. So most of the figures we calculate are estimates. They may not actually be what is on the ground, but at least they help us, they guide us to make decisions on our inventory management. Okay. All right, so this brings us to the end of part 1 of our lesson on stock levels. In a part 2, I'm going to solve a question with you on the first 4 that I have given, and where I'm going to provide for the reorder quantity. Okay, and then we are going to solve for the first 4 levels that I've given. That's the minimum, maximum, average, and the reorder levels. Then afterwards, I'm going to take my time and talk about the reorder quantity and then the economic order quantity, and then we'll take a question that involves all that as well. Remember to subscribe to this channel if this is your first time. Ring the notification bell as well. Share this video and let others also have a benefit. Until we meet again for the part 2, it is bye for now.